So after about 50 hours, I just finished a playthrough of Fallout 4 for the very first time. And I want to talk with you about the good, the bad, the great, the awful, everything in between. Like many, the recent hype of watching the Fallout TV show drew me back to the series for the first time in years. I never beat Fallout 4 originally. And honestly, I don't have a ton of experience with the franchise outside of Fallout 3 when I was younger, but I missed New Vegas in its launch years. I played Fallout 4 for about 9 hours when it came out. It didn't really gel with me. I was also on a horrible PC at the time, which was a big part of it. So this was pretty rad, and I did enjoy this playthrough. Now, I've gathered that New Vegas is the bee's knees. It's the king. It's the greatest. Or at least I feel like that is the easy to understand consensus online. I'm about 10 hours deep into my first playthrough right now of New Vegas, and I love it. And yeah, the writing, the side quests, the depth, just the overall RPG-ness of the game, far better. But I don't really want to talk about the continual comparisons of New Vegas to Fallout 3 or where the franchise could be. I totally understand the context of Fallout 4 not landing the way a lot of people wanted it to. But with all that in mind, I just want to focus on what was the experience of Fallout 4 like? Especially what is playing Fallout 4 like today on a PC with a few visual mods and then also the DLC. Because I can tell you, I had a ridiculously good time. And I aligned pretty closely with a lot of the feedback people had for the story. I want to start with the big glaring things, what I didn't like first, because it's good to be honest, right? If you're about to engage in a playthrough of your own, maybe you're thinking about buying the game, you should know up front there's some big frustrations here. For me, gosh, man, what is Bethesda doing when it comes to making optimized games? Nothing new to talk about here, but it is a pain in the butt. You've got the Fallout show here and a literal sea of new people who want to try the game. And it runs so poorly on PC if you aren't going to mod the game. First of all, you need a load accelerator mod. Otherwise, prepare to be sitting in loading screens because it's tied to a locked FPS. And most people are not going to know to look that up. They're just going to sit there on a 45-second, loading screen when they're on maybe a nice PC with an SSD, not knowing any better. The mouse feels horrific. The mouse support out of the box is just trash. You have to get raw input. Again, if you're curious, I lightly modded the game. There's visual mods that you will see. I've been covering them on videos on the channel. I will leave it all linked down below so you can see. Gameplay really wasn't touched, but my gosh. Bethesda is their own worst enemy here. Everybody gets hyped up for the next gen patch and it breaks Fallout 4 script extender. It doesn't do proper widescreen support, and the modders make it all happen in a day or two. I cannot fathom why. Is it just lack of resources? Do they not care? Because this is not what you should experience, especially if you're buying the game at full price, right? If you are going to get Fallout 4 and the DLCs, look for a discount, look for a sale. I ended up being able to get the DLCs on sale for something like $10 or whatever. And at that price point, very well worth it. But it is hugely frustrating that if you want to play New Vegas or you want to play Fallout 4 or Fallout 3, you're going to need to put some time into just getting the game playable, to figuring out how to, disable the 60 FPS cap and then the high FPS, physics fix. That stuff is inexcusable and it's so irritating. And Bethesda literally has no excuse because modders fixed it so quickly. They're continually fixing those issues, and that just shouldn't be the way. I have to imagine there are people there who are serious gamers who also feel the same way. It cannot take that long after 9 years to optimize it a little bit. Okay, continuing with the negative. I just want to get the negatives out because I truly had a great time, okay? The story in this game, the main story, missed the mark substantially for me. It's not where this game shines. Factions felt very underwritten, underdeveloped. It didn't feel like there were a ton of really cool, unique side quests that were just so special. Even in my first 10 hours of New Vegas, I've already encountered like so many little rabbit holes to go down. And so many choices from the dialogue trees that, because of the Lady Killer perk or something that I chose, radically influence and change the direction of that quest. Meaning every playthrough is going to be unique. It's going to have weight to it. It really felt like in Fallout 4's main story, you were on a railroad track, and I didn't like the direction the train was heading. Without doing spoilers, because this video will not have spoilers, I want you to go and experience it. The motivations, the direction, the whole premise of Fallout 4 is antithetical to the game's strength. Exploring, taking your time, building connections with the world are in direct conflict with the main pivotal energizing force that you're supposed to be doing. Cyberpunk 2077, if you played it, had a very similar issue. Not only that, the game it didn't have the RPG-like elements that the series is accustomed to. So yeah, I have a bone to pick with the main story. I think it's the weakest part. But what I did like was the world, the exploration, the gunplay, and the atmosphere of the Commonwealth. Booting the game up, exploring, finding a new place, looting it, discovering a new legendary, it is such an addictive little loop. And the world building that Bethesda does is so good. If you enjoy the short little 20-minute Fallout loop of discovering a new building, clearing it, looting it, selling items, bringing, your junk back to your camp to build something new. There's the 76 coming out. Your settlement, I'm sorry. That is a really, really fun quality loop. If you don't enjoy the loop, you probably won't enjoy the game, but I very much enjoy that loop. And finding new places while listening to Diamond City Radio is just perfect, and it vibed incredibly well with the TV show, right? The hype coming off of that adventure. I also tried hard not to optimize the fun out of the playthrough and just look at the perk tree and make decisions on the fly. Didn't have a build picked out beforehand. Didn't really lean too heavily into one thing or the other. Just discovered and thought, hey, that perk looks cool. Let's add some strength. Let's get that. And then see how the gameplay shifts. Ultimately, it was incredibly rewarding and relaxing to go through it. I've mentioned this before, but I think for me, that's the draw with Bethesda games, is the world. Loved Skyrim, loved Oblivion. Skyrim's main quest was cool, but I never thought it was the draw. That's not the reasons I still think back to that game fondly. It was all the side content. It was exploring the world, discovering something new every time you boot it up. And with 50 hours, I feel like I still have a ton to see and explore in the Commonwealth. Now, I will say this, the Far Harbor DLC is fantastic. The Fallout 4 Season Pass is really mainly settlement content, or like with Automatron, the ability to build like robot companions, and two main playable pieces of DLC, Far Harbor and Nuka World. Far Harbor is incredible. I think Far Harbor is by far my favorite thing I experienced in this Fallout 4 playthrough. It's its own map, it's its own story. It's got way better writing than the initial game. Tons of choice, and will leave you questioning, am I making the right decision here? Am I getting the most out of it? And it has radically different outcomes based on the decisions that you make. So much so that I didn't like the first outcome. And I literally loaded up an old save to try and play it differently. And it turned out way different just because of some of the choices, the quests I completed. It really is a treat. I wouldn't buy the season pass for the full price. I'd wait for a Steam sale, or if you can find, a copy for less, great. But if you are going to play Fallout 4 in 2024, I think you do a huge disservice not to try Far Harbor. Nuka World is the DLC I'm going through right now, about halfway through it. It's fun, it's a romp, it's kind of this play on, like, what if Disneyland existed in the Fallout world, and what does it look like if raiders took over the space? So far, it's been good. It's been fun. It's not Far Harbor tier for me, but I'm enjoying it. Now, when it comes to settlements in Fallout 4, it's an angle of the game that's not really for me. I've never been that into the base building side of things. Just doesn't really float my boat. And if I were to be interested, I'd probably spend my time building in Fallout 76. I can then bring a friend to check out the space. It isn't tied to just this playthrough. Plus, in 76, you do have to work to get those resources. It carries more weight when I see an insane camp in 76, whereas in Fallout 4, there's a console command to get infinite resources. Nothing to take away from that. If you like the base building, awesome. I've just heard 76 made the actual tools for building quite a bit smoother and easier. Finally, rounding things off, Fallout 4 has so many mods. I didn't touch gameplay on this playthrough. I really wanted to keep it as vanilla as possible. But man, there are some crazy overhaul mods. Plenty of work in progress things. The Fallout London project, Fallout Miami, the New Vegas in the Fallout 4 engine. There's so much stuff to now go out and try if I were to do a fresh playthrough. At 50 hours, I feel like I have scratched the surface of the map, and there's still so many things to go and look for. I know there's another 30 or 40 hours of chill, just poking around the map, discovering a new building, looting something, and falling in love with that loop. Because it is really cozy and really fun. I think it's a good metric if you finish a game and you would easily recommend it to a friend, which I would do with Fallout 4. The friends who are more on the RPG side, who can put up with some jank or know how to mod, I'll send them straight to Fallout 3 or New Vegas. But the gunplay in Fallout 4, the awesome world, the great atmosphere, tons to discover, great DLC. It makes it a very simple one to throw a couple of thumbs up at and say, yeah, it was a good time. Let me know if you're playing a Fallout game in 2024, or if you have any recommendations for games that you think I should try out. It was good for me to kind of step outside the usual FPS multiplayer experience. I want to thank you for watching the video. If you found any of it enjoyable, please subscribe, like the video, and we'll see you again in the next one.